One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. To let me be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's enjoying themselves. I definitely know that we are. Let's get it. All right, so as you guys can see on the title here, Trump thanks himself as well as Birthright ruling, which we touched on yesterday, by the way, and then Iran rejects, the peace talks. So over there in Qatar, and we also discussed that yesterday. So first, let me give you guys the chronological timeline of what we're going to be discussing this morning. We are going to be getting into the multiple IRGC leaders that were assassinated in Iran yesterday, as well as we're watching a shifty change with Oman over there, supposed to be kind of one of our allies. Unfortunately, they're kind of taking the first position they originally took was, hey, we're going to actually try to work with the IRGC and eventually have some sort of toll through the strait. So it's interesting watching the dynamics of this happen. And then the Trump administration, the way that they're handling and discussing with Oman to get them back on their side, essentially. It's a little wild scene. But nonetheless, we're going to be covering that a little bit this morning. Then we have Putin confirms fuel shortages as brawls break out at Russian gas stations. Now, I'm not really sure the entirety of that, but we're going to get into it. Obviously, we'll cover it and see what's happening. Then we have FAA moving to bring supersonic flights to the United States. Now, that is something interesting. It says supersonic flights travel at speeds at or above Mach 1, flying at 770 miles per hour or more. So it says, by contrast, commercial airliners generally fly between 550 and 600 miles per hour, giving supersonic aircraft a speed edge that can reduce travel times. The FAA is planning to finalize the rules by mid-2027. Totally interesting. When I saw that this morning, I was a little bit blown away by that. And then we have, of course, the Supreme Court rulings and all that. We have all the different ones. Recently, there was, some that we were discussing about gun rights. There's other things that we've been talking about this whole thing. Independent federal agencies, all these things. We're going to go ahead and recap all of the different things that Trump has either won or lost in the Supreme Court. So I have that for you guys, as well as Supreme Court agrees to hear biggest Second Amendment case in years. This coming out 12 hours ago. Says the Supreme Court issued decisions on 3 major cases regarding birthright citizenship, political spending, and transgender athletes on Tuesday. The court has also granted several new cases for next term, including a Second Amendment case. And that's the one that I'm interested in. I'm not actually sure what's happening regards to that exact Second Amendment case, but anytime a Second Amendment case makes it into the Supreme Court, I am interested. And then, of course, we have Supreme Court loosens rules on political party campaign spending, which to me is insane, but it was a vote 6-3, by the way, in the Supreme Court. And then we have Democratic Socialist unseats longtime incumbent in Colorado primary. And this just coming out about 10 hours ago. We're learning that Representative Diana DeGette is projected to lose her reelection bid for former attorney and current PhD student Malat Quiros. This marks another recent occasion where a Democratic Socialist has won in a competitive House primary this cycle. Wow. The Associated Press called the race in favor of the 29-year-old Democratic Socialist Quiros. Holy shit. So he's 29 years old in the House of Representatives. Wow. I mean, that's insane to me. All right. And then we have Trump thanks himself while talking to a reporter questions on Iran and the economy. This coming out only 2 hours ago. And I actually put that in the title that Trump actually thanked himself. So I thought that was funny. And then, of course, after that, let's see what we got here. Yep, that's what we're going to be looking at this morning. So before we get into the madness, make sure let's do our call to actions, and then we'll get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. What else is free is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning. Speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $4.99 a month. Making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Absolutely. Also, a little side note here, make sure you follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes on not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, politics, all that great shit. We also have a Discord server for all of you legends. Make sure you go in the video description down below, and that's where you can find the invite link for the community. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen at any time. You can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And, of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. So we've got our email up. We're always scanning. That's what we're doing. All right, real quick, I got to give a big special shout-out to my man, Motive Bomb Virginia over here. He sent us a raid this morning as well from the coffee crew. You know, Sick Bastard, Carney Vanguard. Carney Vanguard also sent his people from his side. Always appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love and support. We got Vanguard Critters in the building. Good morning to you. I see you in the chat. We got Steve Easy as well. We got Frank. We got PJ as well as Rabbit of Chaos. Absolutely. Good morning to you guys, man. Good morning. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm scrolling down as fast as humanly possible. We've got America Uncensored. Good morning to you as well, kind sir. Rolling our way down. We got Tootie Bug. Yes, sir. Good to see you, by the way. Yes, make sure you guys double tap that screen and give a like for Mike. That's a fact, by the way. Let's see. We got No in the chat. Where is he at? I saw him. Oh, there he is. There's No. Good morning to you. We got Charlie Rose as well as Texas Gidget. Always appreciate you guys. Rolling on down. We got Gary as well. Good morning. Good morning. All right, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into this. We're going to go ahead and discuss a little bit about Iran, the IRGC, the couple of guys that got assassinated from the IRGC yesterday, as well as the complexity of what's going on over there in Oman right now, which is supposed to be our ally in this situation, but it sounds like that they're actually moving on over to the IRGC's side of things, where they're like, hey, we're going to actually try to implement a toll with the help of the IRGC now. So this is going to be interesting, and watching how Trump is going to essentially swindle these guys to come back our way. It's going to be interesting. But anyways, this is off of 2CTV, by the way. This is actually one of my big sources for a lot of Iran. Now, it's not my only source by any stretch of the means. It's actually kind of my confirmation on a lot of things that I see. And anyways, let's go ahead and play it and see who we're talking about.
These attacks occurred. First things first, let's make the announcement.
We're also going to speed it up a little bit too. We're going to put it on 1.25.
The first two that we can now confirm. Bohran Kirsani and also Khaled Khalidinian. What sort of name is that one?
I couldn't tell
Khaled Khalidinian. Two members of the terrorist IRGC organization were eliminated in Pave. I'm going to show you on the map where that is. These two were responsible for the massacre of the Iranian people on the 8th and 9th of January this year, where the uprising happened. This Pave, of course, in case you don't know, is located just outside of Kermanshah. Right.
Yes, very true, Steve Easy. They're not only looking at it from that standpoint, but they're also looking at it from the United States standpoint. Are these guys going to actually protect us? Are these guys actually on our side? There's a lot of those questions.
Down here, near the border to the west of Iran, the border, obviously, with Iraq. That's the first.
What's up, Logical Spark? Good morning.
One that we had. And of course, in case you don't remember, during the uprising, I was going to put it here, during the uprising, we had many mass protests around Kermanshah, Sanandaj, of course, Hamadan, obviously around Kurdistan in general, Elam, Lorestan.
So all the big major cities over there. Well, they're not major. I would say that they're bigger areas. You know,
on all these places had massive protests, and these guys who were located around Parva were sent to take out the Iranian people. Of course, they have now been eliminated themselves. We're going to go to the first.
Let me go ahead and drop you his link, by the way. I'll drop this actual video link for you guys as well, so you guys can follow him and subscribe to him. He is definitely one of my main sources that I use to confirm a lot of the things that I read on reports and different, just different reports that come out in general. He is, right on top of it, kind of like how I am. So I definitely respect his hustle.
Video that we have from one of the attacks. This one is in Saravan. I'm going to show you on the map where that is. Actually, let's just quickly show you all the others as well, and then I will show you the video. So obviously we had Parva to the west of Iran, and in the northwestern parts, in the West Azerbaijan province, we have Mahobat down here. We've also had a couple of assassinations over there. And in the province of Gilan, in the north, near the city of Rasht, we've also had a mysterious death up there. In Tehran as well.
There was a couple of mysterious quote-unquote deaths that happened. And even with their IRGC leaders, they said from the IRGC standpoint that it was a mysterious death. So they don't know, essentially. Well, they probably do know how they died, but they're not saying exactly why or how.
Well, this it relates to someone linked to the Islamic Republic State Media, or the RIIB.
Yo, my man Trouble in the building. Shout out to my man. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning so far. Definitely know that we are. It's a Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
Go to the first video that we have. This is another member of this one is an IRGC intelligence leader, part of the intel team. In the past 24 hours, we have had 3 major attacks, but also multiple other attacks that have been carried out.
Now, this was about 22, 23 hours ago, just for context.
On the streets of Iran against the IRGC intelligence officers and Basij unit members in Mahobat, Saravan, Parva, and other places. Let's go. So obviously it's been blurred because it's graphic, but he's in his car.
Dead.
And there's another one next to him. We don't know the name of this guy. We will find out soon. That one's gone. If we go back to Kermanshah, near Parva, that we showed you the first announcements, the first 2 guys that we showed you, we do have now access to
What I really want to get
CCTV footage.
Yeah, no, and I understand the footage that all these are, I mean, they're shitty ass recordings, but nonetheless, I want to get into Oman, and I can't remember if it's where he starts talking about Oman, but we're gonna find it.
It's an isolated incident, guys. Isolated. Oh, well, it's just, it happens. Security incident in the border county of Parva in Kermanshah province. Initial reports indicate clashes and shootings in the area. However, precise details of this incident,
chatting with Stacks, my man, good morning,
have not yet been released by official authorities. If this were happening in the United Kingdom, we would say it's probably a Welsh choir boy or somebody with mental illness. That's probably what they would normally say. But that's it.
You know what I really like is the Tusi map that he uses. So it really does confirm a lot of the cities that I hear, or towns, or whatever you want to call them, when attacks do happen from the United States on a military front. He actually pinpoints where the exact strikes to the building are. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate a lot of that.
Situation is not looking too good for the regime. But we're going to go to the families of the IRGC members who have been killed over the last.
Hell yeah, Tootie Bug. Becoming a member, by the way, very much appreciate that. That's a major W. Very much appreciate you making it rain, and hopefully you enjoy members only with us on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's a fucking good time, and we don't discuss any of this crazy shit, as you guys obviously know.
Few hours and since last night.
Thank you,
They
Tootie.
are a little bit sad. They're sad that their sons and their relatives who massacred tens of thousands of innocent Iranians are now somehow a little bit dead. Oh well, Crimea River, where is my tiny violin? Let's watch them.
What's up, Are We Not Men? Great to see you, by the way. It's been a minute. Hopefully you're enjoying. And then Tootie gifting out a membership, by the way. So make sure if you guys got that gifted membership, you show up on Saturday morning.
Absolutely no sympathy.
Thank you, Tootie.
Firstly, if you are there and you're the mother of one of these guys or the aunt or the father, when your child grows up and becomes a terrorist, it's kind of your responsibility. You probably would.
Shit. All right, let me go ahead and bring it forward here now. I want to get into Oman. This is what I've been specifically waiting for.
Well, the Islamic Republic of Iran earlier today threatened the only real ally left in the region. Who's that? Oman.
Yep.
Yeah, they threatened.
Okay, so now this is what I was trying to get at earlier when I was talking to you guys about at the top of the hour here about how Oman has now taken their original stance of like, hey, we'll actually work with the IRGC to get tolling to be implemented over there after the 60 days. And that's obviously against what we want in American interest. And it definitely doesn't state any of that in the MOU, of course, but that only talks about this 60 days, not afterwards.
Oman saying we will launch missiles and drones at you if you work with the Americans. Of course, the United States and Oman, but the Omanis and the IRGC initially had this plan, which was to
Bill Castle over there on the West Coast. Always appreciate you, my man. Good morning.
Effectively manage the Strait of Hormuz, right? With the toll payment system. The Americans threatened to bomb Oman. So they created their own corridor in the south of the Strait of Hormuz, from Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, as you can see. Then the IRGC have now said, because the Americans threatened to bomb Oman, the IRGC said, we're going to bomb you now. A massive diplomatic row between Oman and the Islamic Republic. So we had essentially saying that we will be hitting Oman with missiles and we will take military action.
From the United States standpoint.
If they do not comply with Tehran's regime.
No. That's the IRGC's threat to Oman, correct?
The Islamic Republic wants total dominance over the Strait of Hormuz, and the US is obviously actively pressuring the Omanis to work with the US.
Of course.
But after a few hours, Oman woke up and said, okay, we will be moving forward with our original plan to introduce a payment system for the ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz.
I just told you guys that. That's a big fucking problem.
Oh shit!
That's from our biggest ally of the region right there, that's a big yikes for us.
With the help of the Islamic Republic. So the US, and clearly President Trump is about to also now threaten Oman again.
Right.
Which is going to be interesting because the Omanis have apparently sent a proposal to the United States. There's a new plan.
Now, I looked up for that proposal that he was speaking about right there, and I unfortunately could not find that proposal.
Plan that they have, saying that if you allow us to be part of this payment system with the Islamic Republic, at least we can manage it, and we are also working with you. Basically, Oman wants to
welcome back
play both sides. But it gets worse than this. It gets worse for the Islamic Republic. The Americans hold, if not all the cards, most of the cards right now. Despite the fact that about 2-3 weeks ago, we had the announcement of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, which a lot of people thought that that's the end of the war or the peace deal.
That's exactly what I was trying to tell you guys at the very, very beginning of this MOU was this is an MOU, not a peace deal like everybody made it out to seem. Now, actually, the people that were responsible for that was the Middle East, the way that they handled it and said, oh, this is peace, blah, blah, blah. And then it went around the world. With that kind of narrative, and it wasn't. It was the MOU exactly like I told you guys, and just basically gave us 60 days of a ceasefire theoretically.
Which wasn't, and I told you to just breathe. It's fine.
And basically an agreement to come to the table and negotiate further.
Fine. People panicked at the time. The negotiations, and I said, let them
Hell
talk.
yeah. We got Michael sending in a gift over there on the vertical side. Thank you very much for that, by the way. Can't see it on my side, but Naomi let me know, so thank you for that.
It's not going to get anywhere.
Nice
but the Islamic Republic just made it easier for us. So, they have sent a list of demands and red lines to the Americans. On top of it is the Strait of Hormuz. The Islamic Republic will have full control, no exceptions. Obviously, that's not going to happen because even the Europeans are against it. That's number one, which means you have to have military action by the Americans, war, to stop that. Secondly, billions in frozen financial assets, frozen funds,
Now, all of those frozen funds, even though there's been a lot of talks about frozen funds being released and all of that stuff, it's actually false. There has been zero frozen funds from the Iranians. Now, originally, even Iran said on their side, on their state media, that was like $6 billion was going to be released and all this stuff. It was all propaganda. It's all bullshit. Nothing has been unfrozen
that
yet.
Were supposed to be released to Iran.
Which
not been released, obviously.
Right.
They wanted back, no strings attached. The Americans said, we will only potentially give you some of it after you end your nuclear program.
Right, which would be not within the MOU. It would be the deal after the MOU.
Performance-based. The Islamic Republic said, you need to give it to us now. And that's, again, that was the other thing that a couple of weeks ago.
And we're saying, fuck off.
People panicked because fake news media reported that the Americans...
What's up, Miss Lotus? Good morning to you, by the way. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday. I definitely know that we are enjoying it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Let's get the likes up, man.
Already gave the money to the Islamic Republic. No. Then there is Lebanon. So money, Strait of Hormuz, now Lebanon. They've said...
And when it comes to Lebanon, of course, this is on a military front going to be a liability, because anytime that Hezbollah is quote unquote attacked by the IDF, and that's been right now within this war, it's been where Hezbollah pokes the bear, hits southern Lebanon with the IDF troops and all these different things, and then of course the IDF responds, and then they play like, oh, we're not going to go ahead and talk about anything because you guys are fighting up there. So it's like, fuck, man, on a military front, that is a liability.
That obviously Israel needs to leave. Israel changed the plan with the help of the Americans. Well, the Americans changed the plan. The Americans brought Lebanon and Israel together to destroy Hezbollah, to disarm Hezbollah. That's going to boil up and completely implode in Beirut. Civil war coming in Lebanon. The nuclear issue. They've said that the nuclear negotiations are completely off the table. They will not negotiate.
What's up, Joker? And what he just said right there is exactly what I'm seeing in the reports as well, regarding how Iran and the IRGC is talking about the nuclear talks negotiations coming up, and they're saying we're hardlined here. We're not going to be negotiating anything. We're not going to concede anything. And this is exactly what I told you guys from the beginning of this war, is as long as the IRGC is in place, we're not going to see any type of deal actually being made. Sorry, it's just not going to happen.
The nuclear issue, which is the whole point of these negotiations, fake negotiations, obviously. It's just for the Americans to buy time for their strategy and their military assessment.
Well, it's also, and it actually helps, time actually kind of works more well for the IRGC than it does the United States. We're trying to end it as fast as possible, and they're trying to stretch it as long as possible.
With the oil markets and the financial markets. So, obviously, President Trump said that the Islamic Republic requested a meeting in Doha. I said Oman earlier, I meant Qatar. But brain doesn't work.
Real quick, we got Naomi coming in with the 5 spot saying Steve Easy is trying to sell butt hugs in chat again. What? Well, very much appreciate that, Naomi. Thank you for the 5 spot and the chaos that you bring. Always appreciate it. Let's
meeting
go.
In Doha. And obviously, the Islamic Republic said we're not going. So Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff went to Qatar, Doha. And 3/4 of the Islamic Republic's leadership, all the clerics, all the IRGC, have agreed that the red line that I mentioned will not be moved. There will not be a peace deal between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. There will never be a peace deal.
And that's what you guys just heard me say as well. And I've been saying that since the very beginning.
Between these two sides. No nuclear talks, no concessions on Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
And the Americans are refusing to give...
there's been no concessions and only them adding to it, essentially. Instead of conceding, they're taking more ground
than any money. So it's going to be fun. But the Prime Minister of Israel today...
yeah, he's not joking. Anyways, we're not going to get into Israel. We don't need to discuss that right here, right now. We've got a lot of other things that we got to cover, as we always do. We can't focus solely on that. All right, let's go and get into something interesting here that came out about 14 hours ago. Putin confirms fuel shortages as brawls break out at Russian gas stations. Now, I saw this as a main headline this morning, and I haven't watched it. And so it'll be interesting to see what is happening here. And we're not going to play this whole thing either.
Welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Take a look. Russian President Vladimir Putin is publicly acknowledging that Ukrainian long-range strikes are creating fuel supply problems inside Russia. Videos obtained by Fox News Digital show long lines, angry motorists, and fights erupting at gas stations across several Russian regions. Meanwhile, Putin is continuing to face pressure from long-range Ukrainian drone attacks. President Zelensky has been posting videos like this in recent days.
You be safe out there, Frank. We always appreciate you.
On Tuesday, over 400 drones were reportedly shot down across Russia, including in Moscow.
Damn. 400 drones from Ukraine side shooting them off into Russia. Wow.
And in Crimea, according to Russian authorities. Let's bring in retired Marine intelligence officer, national security analyst, and the host of the Strat podcast, Hal Kempfer. He's here with me. Hal, the Kremlin doesn't usually acknowledge that Ukraine is impacting Russia beyond the battlefield, but they are now. Why?
Oh, they're having to. Austin, the problem is they can't deny the gas lines. They can't deny, refineries and other facilities.
Right, that we've covered as of like within the last week. We actually covered, Moscow getting hit from Ukrainian drones. Definitely very interesting landscape. We're watching a little bit of a shift in that war, in particular with Russia, Ukraine.
It's going up in flames and smoke drifting over Moscow and St. Petersburg. They just simply can't hide it anymore. These
and the starvation, essentially, the blockade that they did in Crimea. It's very interesting watching how they have controlled Crimea after it became Russian territory.
Drone strikes by the Ukrainians are all over Russia right now. Certainly all over European Russia. Some of them.
You too, Bill Castle. We always appreciate it.
As far as a little bit east of the Urals. And so he had to say something. The other thing is gas prices. The gas is restricted, gasoline, and that's because of the refinery attacks. So it's extremely expensive. You see prices there. The price of gas in some areas was $25 a gallon, to give you an idea of how big, how expensive it is.
God damn.
It's incredible. And you see these long lines. A lot of times you just can't get gas. And of course, the latest reports are that a lot of times in these lines.
So because of how expensive fuel is in Russia, wow, Putin admits Ukraine strikes are causing fuel shortages. And so because the price is going up so high, he has to kind of concede, because he's going to have a lot of inside pressure from his own people.
Frustrated motorists.
Just like we do. We get, we see when gas prices go up in the United States, that puts pressure on the United States president. It all correlates that way.
Getting out of their cars and literally getting into fistfights because they're so angry with how things are going.
Yeah,
it forced Putin to do something he never wants to do. His narrative is always the same. We're doing great in Ukraine. We're going to win. Everything's, all the offensive actions are successful. Basically it's a standard Russian line, no matter what the facts on the ground are. He finally had to admit that the Ukrainians are having an impact on Russian gasoline supplies. He just couldn't hide it anymore. And he can't hide the fact that you got drones flying into Moscow and hitting things.
Yeah, right in the heart of Russia,
all over.
It's not like some small little refinery off to the distance where nobody can see it. It's right in the heart of Moscow.
And setting things ablaze.
We weren't able to independently get the video of the fights themselves. Fox News Digital.
Oh, of course not. They have it on their Instagram, and it's even posted as Fox News. They posted it. They can put it up if they wanted. They just know that they're on the TV side of things, so they don't want to show the violence. Pussies.
Has it posted on their social account. You see a screen grab of it there. This is how they describe it. Tempers are boiling over at Russian gas stations throughout the country as drivers get caught on camera fighting over fuel.
I'm sure.
The chaotic scenes.
They're just pissed off in general.
As Vladimir Putin publicly.
But pissed off Russians are not so peaceful.
Acknowledged Russia is facing a shortage of fuel after months of Ukrainian drone strikes on the country's oil refineries disrupted supplies. Long lines and fuel rationing are now being reported across multiple regions, putting rare public pressure on everyday Russia.
At $25 a gallon for them right now. Could you imagine?
As the war's impact reaches farther inside the country. And again, I'll go back to these videos.
If gas were up to $25 a gallon, I think I might fight somebody too.
That Zelensky has been sending out as of late of the long-range strikes, the drone warfare. Drone warfare is not new to this war, Hal. So why?
No, but in modern warfare, drones, just like Steve Easy has said, it's interesting watching how drone warfare has taken over warfare in general. I mean, compared to the old days of being in a trench shooting, a long rifle, downrange and barely ever hitting anything. Now we've got drones that, people can be 25 feet in a tunnel below their structure and be able to fly that thing no matter where they are. it's interesting for sure.
Why is so much attention being paid to the Ukrainians' most recent drone attacks on Russia? Is it because...
Well, it's because Russia is actually starting to feel a little bit of the chaos that's happening here, especially when you start attacking the refineries, stuff like that. See, there was times that Russia was attacking, like, for instance, Ukrainian grids, the electrical grid. When stuff like that happens, it makes major headlines because it's more than warfare at that point. Now you're going and attacking the people. And it's a humanitarian problem when we are talking about resources and stuff like that. So definitely interesting.
As it's hitting place.
You start blowing up refineries, you watch how fast all of a sudden, you know, they're going to be talking about you.
This is like Moscow and Crimea. Is that the point here?
Better drones. It really boils down to better drones. Firepoint has been putting out some drones, which are excellent drones for long range. They've also put out excellent drones for intermediate range. That's the one that doesn't get as much attention because it's not spectacular, doesn't have Moscow, but it has been just destroying.
Damn, for real, Joker?
The supply lines and the lines of communication, and that, I mean, logistics lines of communication in Ukraine, in and around Ukraine. Crimea has been virtually cut off. It's a peninsula.
Right. And what he's talking about is something that we've broken down on this channel before. So let me go ahead and actually do that real quick, just so that you guys understand what we're talking about when we're talking about Crimea in specific, right? So let me go ahead and bring up this map. So this is over there in Iran currently. Let me go and back out of this a little bit. Let's get over to Russia and Ukraine, basically. So we got Ukraine down here, and this is what they consider Crimea. Okay, this is like that little peninsula that Hal Kempfer was just talking about. This is what he's specifically talking about. So this became basically Russian territory throughout the war, even though this is theoretically Ukraine, right? So they took over this area, and as of recent, I'm talking within the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. There has been a blockade, essentially, where all goods going in and out are blocked. Right here at this bridge in particular, this is the one bridge that connects the two right here, the pieces of land, and then up here where the incoming is, where there's a single road that goes through here and goes into Crimea. So this road is on land, and they blockaded this as well. So all goods, like whether it be food, whether it be medical shit, whatever, it's completely blocked off. And so now watching Crimea right now struggle is, I mean, it's big time. It's actual big time. So anyways, let me go ahead, and that was just for me to give you guys a little bit of context of what he was about to get into regards to Crimea. Here we go. Let me back this up a little bit. Here we go.
Destroying the supply lines and the lines of communication, and that, I mean, logistics lines of communication in Ukraine, in and around Ukraine. Crimea has been virtually cut off. It's a peninsula that's now sort of becoming an island in terms of its ability, in terms of being resupplied, because they just can't get stuff in there. By the way, I should mention in Crimea, which is, Russians claim it's theirs, but it's a Ukrainian territory they took in 2014. They have cut off all gasoline sales to civilians because they just don't have the gasoline. They just simply can't get it in. And there's rumors, or at least stories, that the Kerch Bridge, which is about the only way they can get stuff in now, that stretches over to mainland Russia.
See, and I just showed you guys that the mainland side from Ukraine, and to Crimea. And then, of course, the bridge, there's a single bridge that goes right here that connects Crimea into Russia. And that's where that blockade is being, used, and as well as up here in the north of Crimea.
The Ukrainians may do another mass bombing of it and shut down the Kerch Bridge altogether, which would cause, take a bad situation and just make it a horrendous situation from a supply chain standpoint in Crimea. So, long story short, their drones are working better. The other thing too is watching this, and this is something we were talking about.
Virginia chaos, shit.
Oh shit! On the air last year was the production rates of drones. That the drones were they're able to produce more drones per month.
You be safe out there. No, always appreciate it.
They did before. So now they've kind of hit that point where they have this massive production output, and they're able to do this. The big thing is with the drones is also things like the FP5.
What's up, War Learner? Good morning to you.
Flamingo cruise missile. That's their cruise missile. That's kind of roughly equivalent to our Tomahawk. That's another part of the equation where they're able to do these long range strikes. The Russians seem to be having very little, if any, ability to intercept those. and those deliver a warhead of over a ton of explosives. So that you can imagine when that hits a refinery, it causes some significant damage, significant long-term damage, depending on where it hits.
This improved dynamic.
All right, so that's enough of this. There's a little bit of images here that they're showing. Let me go ahead and just quickly show these images.
Have the numbers. They've got more personnel, although one of the problems the Russians are facing is that they're losing more troops every month than they're actually able to
maintain and recruit.
Generate through
recruitment,
mobilization, stuff like that. So that's a negative mathematical problem that the Russians are dealing with. It's just simply the number of troops they're losing due to serious injuries or being killed outright on the battlefield. That's a problem. The longer the Russians are stalemated, the more politically difficult it is for Putin to maintain the war. And
yeah, no kidding. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We have a lot to discuss this morning, as per usual. All right, FAA moving to bring supersonic flights to the United States. This is an interesting announcement coming out actually yesterday, but them covering it today. Oh, no, actually, they did cover it yesterday. Looks like evening. Yeah, yesterday evening. The Department of Transportation on Tuesday announced that regulators are moving toward enabling civilian supersonic flights over the continental U.S., which have been banned for decades due to sonic booms. So supersonic flights travel at speeds or above Mach 1. So flying at about 770 miles per hour or more. For context, the normal flights that we see here, commercial airliners use, go from anywhere from 550 miles per hour to 600 miles per hour, just for context. So, all right, quickly, let's go ahead and do the money part. We haven't done that yet. I'm slacking like a motherfucker.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now, that is an absolute fact.
Denied.
But I still love you guys. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll figure out what's happening here.
All right, welcome back into Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Take a look. Some exciting news coming out of the U.S. Department of Transportation. They, earlier today, announced that regulators are moving toward enabling civilian supersonic flights over the continental United States, which have been banned for decades due to sonic booms. Supersonic flights travel at speeds at or above Mach 1, flying at about 770 miles per hour or more. By contrast, commercial airliners generally fly between 550 and 600 miles per hour, giving supersonic aircraft a speed edge that can reduce travel times. The FAA is planning to finalize the rules by mid-2027. Richard Abulafia is a managing director at Aerodynamic Advisory. It's good to have you on. A lot of folks might hear...
And we're not going to play this whole thing, but we are going to get the front monologue figuring out what's happening here.
This story, and they might immediately think, okay, well, what exactly are these planes and why aren't they used yet? It has to do with sonic booms, as I mentioned. Can you explain?
Well, sonic booms are just part of the bigger picture, I'm afraid. Certainly that's been an obstacle, but the bigger obstacle is technological, creating a product that actually flies supersonic, and also economic.
And obviously works, and yes, like you said, economic. Just because you're flying at, you're not going to be necessarily saving gas. You could be burning more, or jet fuel. You could be burning that shit faster or more. So yeah, you got to take all these things into consideration for commercial flights.
Basically, getting people to pay the enormous ticket prices associated with flying supersonically, because of course, fast planes drink a lot of fuel. So many obstacles ahead, aside from a welcome act of deregulation.
I have some videos here of supersonic planes, and we got to be clear that these are just renderings, and these are renderings that have been used in the past while this has been discussed. The planes themselves, how different are they from what we're used to flying on?
Well, very different indeed. First of all, they cost a great deal more because they consume...
Damn, look at that fucking thing.
A great deal more fuel. They tend to have swept wings, as you need to do with supersonic planes, rather than, say, straight wings. They need a completely different...
What's up, Kerry? My man, good morning to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Whip 'em Out Wednesday. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Very much appreciate it.
An engine that does not exist now, except, of course, for military purposes, and those tend to be relatively short range. So it's a very different concept. It was done once by the Anglo-French Concorde Consortium in the 1960s. It flew for a couple decades. Unfortunately, commercial realities limited it to, I believe, 14 production aircraft, and only with a lot of government subsidies enabling those aircraft to be built.
Yeah, so you and I were talking offline before we got rolling here, and I was talking about some video we have from the 1970s. This is the...
Real quick, and that's exactly what they're going to be talking about here in a second, Steve Posey, about the other jets that were supersonic or whatever. Real quick, we got Brother So Loud coming out with the 10 spot, by the way, saying, great content, bro. I want a bite of that sandwich. Yo. I got that sandwich for you, right?
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Shit. W So Loud, my man.
Oh shit!
Thank you for making it rain in the chat. We always appreciate you, my man. It goes a long way. Let's go.
First Concorde flight. Tell us what we're looking at here. Why is a flight from the 70s significant today?
Yeah, it almost feels science fictional, right? You go back and it's sort of like the moon landing, with all these incredible
Totally.
achievements in the 60s and 70s.
It's so funny that he made the reference to the moon landing on that.
And, it could transport about 100 passengers in relatively comfortable circumstances at close to Mach 2. Mach 199, I think, was the typical max out on the Mach meter. So you could fly between 3 and 4 hours across the Atlantic. And a ticket, even back then, cost, with a great deal of government subsidization, cost about $12,000 or $14,000, about maybe 17 or 18,000 in today's money. And that reflects economic reality, I'm afraid.
Does it feel like there are still some pretty major hurdles, some pretty major challenges that have to be overcome before this truly makes it into the commercial space?
And this is the last question we'll take because it is a good one.
Or does it feel like this is coming soon, no matter what?
To be honest,
oh, that's bad news, Steve Posey. That sucks.
Almost feels like we're retreating from it. And the reason is that air transport back in the 70s, you were kind of a prisoner in midair. You had to get where you were going to find out what was happening at the other end. And now people are connected in real time. In a few years, you'll probably have digital avatars on planes with you. And therefore, some of the impetus behind that fast transport is kind of going away. Every few years, somebody comes up with an idea for a supersonic jet and, of course, tries to attract the tens of billions of dollars needed to make it a reality. This company is one of the more recent ones. Everyone wants someone to give them tens of billions of dollars to make it happen, but I'm afraid the headwinds are extremely strong.
So,
all right, we'll leave it at that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the recent rulings for the Supreme Court. Okay, we discussed this. We've done segments on this since rulings have been coming out in the last week or so. But to give you guys an update, this is what we're looking at. So the big one that we just saw yesterday on birthright citizenship, we also touched on it yesterday morning in the show. But Trump lost 5-4 on that one. And the court held President Trump's executive order restricting automatic birthright citizenship is unconstitutional. The court reaffirmed that the 14th Amendment protects citizenship for nearly everyone born on U.S. soil. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. Bottom line, birthright citizenship remains unchanged. All right, and let's go ahead and get into number 2. Independent federal agencies. Trump won on that one. The court significantly expanded presidential power, basically upheld what Trump was already doing and what past presidents as well. The court ruled that the president has much broader authority to remove leaders of independent executive agencies than previously allowed. This weakens decades of president limiting presidential control over agencies like Federal Trade Commission, Federal Reserve. Then we have many legal scholars see this as one of the biggest expansions of executive power in modern history. Interesting. Let's see. We got number 3, transgender athletes. Conservative states won on this one. The court upheld a state law prohibiting biological males from competing in girls' and women's school sports. The ruling means states may enforce biological sex classifications for school athletics under their laws and Title IV interpretation. Then it says number 4, campaign finance. This one was an interesting one. It says Republicans won. The court struck down federal limits on coordinated spending between political parties and their candidates. Effectively, political parties can now coordinate much more closely with campaigns. And this could significantly increase campaign spending and reshape federal elections. Then we have border asylum policy. Trump won on that one as well. The court allowed the administration to reinstate policies that let border officials turn back many asylum seekers before they enter the United States to apply for asylum. Because a lot of times what would happen is these people would come into at the border and they would just claim asylum, and they would have to let them in essentially and go through the legal process instead of them just getting denied at the border. So that's the one that is a major victory for the administration's immigration agenda. Then we have gun rights. This is in regards to 18 to 20-year-olds. The court did not issue a major merits ruling, but declined to hear several appeals. That means federal and Florida restrictions on firearm purchases by 18 to 20-year-olds remain in effect where upheld. Conflicting lower courts rulings remain across the country, so the issue could return to the court later. So that is what we're looking at for the Supreme Court of like what actually was passed or declined here. So let's go ahead and get into this. Supreme Court agrees to hear biggest Second Amendment case in years. And this is a new case that we're going to hear about that the Supreme Court is now willing to hear out. So I don't know what the case exactly is yet. We're going to find out together. Anytime I hear a Second Amendment case go into the Supreme Court, I watch it like a hawk. So here we go.
Let's be joined right now by executive editor with SCOTUS blog, Zachary Shemtov. Zachary, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We were awaiting this. We anticipated this. But does this show in any way the opinions cracks in this constitutional foundation of birthright citizenship?
I mean, ultimately, this was an incredibly important decision. It would have been even more important if it went the other way, but it did not, as anticipated. What we saw was either, depends on how you count it, a 5-4 or a 6-3 decision, but ultimately two of Trump's own appointees, Amy Coney Barrett in full and Brett Kavanaugh in part, agreed to strike this down. So birthright
What's up, Mr. Jack Telcott? Good morning to you, kind sir.
Citizenship as a constitutional matter, you would need to amend it in order to restore it. At least that was the opinion of.
No, he definitely does, by the way, VC.
5 of the justices. And the dissenters said, no, that should not be the case, including Justice Kavanaugh. But at this point, it is pretty clear that this court has struck the order and made clear, again, that birthright citizenship is part of our nation's heritage and is going to remain so.
Jesus. Terrible.
And clarify that for
terrible take
me a little bit, because this is a
6-3
decision, but only really 5 in the majority going for this. That's why it is upheld. And Kavanaugh, the one, that 6th justice, disagreed about the constitutional ruling, but sided with the majority because of the federal law. Make that make sense.
Okay, I'll do my best. So there was a federal law passed in 1940 and updated in 1952, which has essentially the same language as the citizenship clause.
So first, before we get into that, where we hear what the Second Amendment case is going to be, they're covering the whole thing with birthright citizenship, and then they'll go into it, I'm sure.
This idea that you are, a citizen if you're born in or subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And what Kavanaugh did is he said that essentially the constitutional amendment back when it was passed, the 14th Amendment in the 19th century, did not guarantee birthright citizenship. That was
right, because the 14th Amendment had nothing to do with outside peoples. It actually had to do with slavery.
Not its intention. But the statute itself, when it was passed many years later, there was a background at that point of Congress understanding that birthright citizenship was essentially a thing. And at that point, they passed the statute with the understanding that it gave birthright citizenship to individuals. So Kavanaugh essentially said that constitutionally, no, it's not in the Constitution, but it is in the statute.
And does that open?
Jeez, yeah, rough. And that definitely opens it up to be kind of an open interpretation, especially for it not being what it was intended for, which was for, basically the freed slaves, essentially. So let's go ahead and see what is happening here with the whole thing with the Second Amendment. I'm trying to figure out where it is.
No doubt that, if the administration starts drawing things up, and they certainly have the will to do this, then they may try to put things forward. I think a lot of those are likely to be struck by the court as either kind of too cute by half, to put it in those terms, or because they're violating kind of the spirit of this. But I could certainly see, despite the decision today, some attempts to circumvent it or get around it. I could also see them saying at this point, the administration, folks in Congress, it's a done deal. We're going to move on to other things.
My last question before we move on to the other rulings, I want to ask, because it was a 5-4 basic decision on birthright citizenship. At a larger scale, people looking at the 14th Amendment, it looks fairly black and white. Does that concern people that if one justice flips the other way, that could be overturned and have real major implications?
Yes, but I think that's true of any constitutional case or any all-important case. I mean, it all hinged around subject to the jurisdiction of, and that term is somewhat malleable. And I think that the majority ultimately said that it was steeped in common law, you read the text, etc. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, while yes, we should recognize that a lot of things we see as fundamental could be challenged. One, that's nothing new, and two, it could be done in a lot of different areas.
That's a good explanation. I just want to clear that up. Some other big rulings though today that I do want to get into, including revolving around.
What's up, TNT? Good morning to you.
Gender, girls and women playing school athletics.
We already know that. He already won. Trump won on that ruling. I'm trying to find out where they're getting into that, where the Supreme Court is going to hear the biggest Second Amendment case in years. That's what I really am looking for, to be honest.
That
here,
states can exclude transgender female athletes from women.
We know that.
They talked about that, the guardrails being kind of taken off and somewhat loosened in that way. How much could we see change in the next few months ahead, the midterms, with this decision?
Very hard to say at this point. This was a challenge to a federal law limiting the amount of money that political parties can spend in coordination with a candidate for office.
Right.
So it's, giving to the political party and then it going to the candidates. I think the majority would tell you and did tell you that ultimately, this violated the First Amendment and is not going to create any appearances of impropriety, and it's not ultimately a big deal. And the dissent is going to say this is a huge deal. As you said, yet again, it's stripping away another guardrail for campaign finance laws.
Yeah, and obviously very important. We'll see what happens. My last question before I let you go, not about this term, but what we could see next term. And it's interesting you note about some of the malleable language of the Constitution, because the Supreme Court that has expanded gun rights will consider whether bans on semi-automatic rifles, often called assault weapons, violate the Second Amendment. How
what?
Consequential.
There's no way. Oh my fucking God. I can't believe that they even use that kind of language.
Could this be? What type of factors and language could we be looking at?
Had we not had birthright citizenship in these other cases today, I think this would be getting a lot more attention. This is hugely important, especially in the Second Amendment domain. It's been on, near on the docket for years and years now. So ultimately, this would determine whether one.
So basically, everyone's AR-15 is subject right now into the Supreme Court.
Has a right to possess AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles under the Second Amendment. So that would be a huge win for, gun advocates, and a huge
the Supreme Court needs to do its job now.
Loss for those in favor of gun control. So yes, I think it's a very big decision, and we will be hearing a whole lot about it in the next few months.
What type of factors?
Like, that would be insane if SCOTUS basically ruled that AR-15s would be unconstitutional to the Second Amendment. Like, that is crazy.
Will they weigh in terms of this case? And I find it interesting. We talk about birthright citizenship, how they can kind of have the jurisdiction of that kind of language. And is there language that we're watching? What factors might be at play?
Well, the Second Amendment, as we know, is very vague. So the justices will rely on a whole lot of history. And the idea is, can you find, the weapons that were possessed at the time of the founding or when the Second Amendment was passed to be analogous to semi-automatic rifles? And that's going to go to such factors as, what was considered.
And honestly, if it were a rule against us, no. I don't think anybody would be. I think everybody would be subject now.
Dangerous back then. How commonly were such weapons were certain weapons used? And of course, they didn't have semi-automatic rifles. But it's trying to compare something analogous then to what we have now. So that boils down to a whole lot of history on both sides, as well as I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about the policy consequences.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Regarding the well, we already listened to the political party spending, so we don't necessarily need to get further into that. Democratic Socialist unseats longtime incumbent in Colorado primary. We're now learning about Representative Diana DeGette. I'm not sure if that's how you actually say her name, but is projected to lose her reelection bid for former attorney and current PhD student Malak Kiros. This is a big deal. This guy is 29 years old, Democratic Socialist that just won over there in basically who's likely to reach Congress with the Colorado district covering the dark blue city of Denver. Wow. Oh my God. 29 years old, made it basically into Congress. They're already calling it that they won.
This
So
is the watch party for Melat Kiros, who has just secured the House seat in District 1. Let's listen in as she's about to speak.
Another L for America.
I'm Melat Kiros.
Oh, it's a chick?
This victory belongs to every single one of you.
Oh my God. Of course, it's a woman.
Denver voters of all ages, of all races, of all religions sent a clear message. We will not wait.
Oh my God.
We will not wait to take the fight to Donald Trump and the oligarchy. We will not wait. We will not wait to abolish ICE and pass Medicare for all.
This is terrible.
We will not wait to put an end to the politics of the past, to get big money out of our politics, and to reject corporate tax at APAC.
Well, I wonder how much money she took from corporate interests. What are we talking about? All that money, all the other shit?
And no, we will not wait to end the genocide in Palestine. We believe that fundamental change can and will happen if we fight for it. If we organize and show no fear in standing up for what's right. That is the message that Denver has sent to both parties, to Donald Trump, and to the entire country.
Oh my God, this is rough. This is rough. She's younger than me and got into fucking Congress. Holy shit.
Everyone in this room to take just a moment and look at the people around you. Strangers to you just a year ago, just a few months ago. But tonight, together, you are all something else. Tonight, you are proof. 1 year ago.
We're only going to hear a little bit more and then we got to move on.
1 year ago, a lot of experienced people told us this was impossible. They said you can't win without corporate PAC money. They said you can't beat a 30-year incumbent. They said the establishment and the oligarchy is just too big and too powerful to overcome. That's what they said. But 1 year, 6,500 volunteers.
Wow. Wow. She found 6,500 volunteers to help her on this shit in Denver. Wow.
115,000 doors.
So 500,000.
100,000 calls later. You are the proof that the power of organized people beats the power of organized money.
Yeah, this is wild.
I have to take a moment and thank every single one of you in this room, to every single person that has volunteered, that has supported this campaign, to Justice Democrats, to Denver VSA.
Man, that is rough. All right, we've got to move on. We have to. All right, we got to hear Trump thank himself.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
It's in the title, ladies and gentlemen. Trump thanks himself while talking to a reporter questions on Iran and the economy. Let's go ahead and bring it up and see what's happening here. Let's go ahead and see. Boom.
They said to Boeing, what's the best one? They said, this is the best plane ever built. And you're going to have the privilege of flying it. And I have a privilege also of flying it. But this is the first flight. We're going to the Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library opening. And that'll be very good. That'll be a lot of fun. But I think, to be honest with you, I'm excited about the first flight. It's something nobody's ever seen anything like it. Even you people with all your experience and all of your talent, you will never see anything like this. So they just completed it. They made it appropriate for a president. That means the security and all of the different bells and whistles they put on. Very complex stuff, but it's really quite something. And this is a plane that the United States of America should have. Our Air Force One was 35, 36 years old, and it would be parked next to the new ones like this, and it really didn't look appropriate for our country. So we're very proud of this. The country is very proud of it. And you can do two things. You can low-key it, or you can show it. And I think the country should be very proud of it. And it's beautiful, and you'll see that in a little while when you board. As far as things are going,
yeah, she was.
Denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings, and we'll see. We hit them very hard for 3 nights, as you know, but we're getting along very well. So I call it the denuclearization, and it's all taking place. It's all going well. The stock market is setting records virtually every
You be safe out there, Naomi.
day. The oil price is way down. We're down at 68. I see it hit 68 today. That's lower than when I started the, I guess you could call it an attack on Iran, so that they never have a nuclear weapon. So the oil price is now lower. The retail prices, the gasoline is coming down rapidly. And if you have any
Yeah, it's not lower, but it is coming down.
questions, let's go.
Mr. President,
As of right this second,
upgrade
though.
to the new plane, and how much did it cost American taxpayers to upgrade the plane?
Well, of course, very little relative to what it would cost if we did it a different way. So this was a gift from a country that's treated us very well, and they're an ally of us over in the Middle East, Qatar. And I went to Boeing.
They're not really an ally. They're actually more like friends of Iran, and we're using friends of Iran to essentially get close. And when Qatarians, officials, and all that, they discuss to Iran, when they say, hey, you guys need to halt this or whatever, they take it way more serious coming from their own people over there than coming from the United States standpoint. So we're kind of using Qatar in that regard. You know, they're supposed to be that kind of quote unquote mediator a little bit, but they're obviously biased to the IRGC. That's always been something.
I said, who has the best one? They said, Qatar. There's never been a plane like it. Frankly, we couldn't build a plane like this because we wouldn't be willing to spend the kind of money necessary. They spent top dollar. So the head of Boeing said, this is considered the best 747 they've ever built.
Okay, cool. Let's get over the whole fucking 747. We already know everything about it.
And I went, so I said, no, I'd like to, and you're gonna get a kick out of it. There's just nothing like it.
Hey, Mr. President, your financial disclosure shows you had a very lucrative year last year. What message does this send to average Americans, especially those who may be struggling right now financially?
I don't get involved in my personal. We have funds that run my money.
But you are benefiting.
Well, I've made a lot of money before I became president, and they invest my money, and I don't talk to them. I don't even speak to them. So I have many people. I don't know what.
And Steve, that's why I kind of use the rhetoric of like friends, not like allies of the IRGC, but they are more friendly to them.
They call closed accounts or something. You put your money in, and that's it. I don't talk to them. They're big institutions, and they run it. But yeah, I've had a great career. In business, I've had a great career.
Concerns about conflict of interest?
I don't know if I've had a better career in politics or business, but I had a great career in business. And, you saw the cash, and you report the different things. And what they do is we gave it, I think it's called the blind account, but they take it. And I never speak to any of the people that run the money, but they're at big institutions, and they invest in whatever they invest.
So I guess he's going to North Dakota today. That's interesting.
To critics who say you're profiting off the presidency, Mr.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%.
Fucking 401. Who gives a shit about the 401k?
Thank you, President Trump. So we're all.
Oh, that was when he thanked himself. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh shit! Profiting because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump. So we're all profiting. I'm profiting because I have a lot of money and a lot of cash, and
yeah, and he's not making money off of a 401k. He's making money off the stock market.
I give it to
which, of course, yes, the 401k does relate to the stock market, but the whole thing is when you do that, you're not in control of the companies that you're actually investing in. 401k to me is just unnecessary. It's an unnecessary third party for you to get money that you could be creating yourself by investing in business and doing stuff like that and having that as your retirement plan, essentially.
Institutions, I don't know if they know what they're doing or not, but they buy a vast array of things.
President Trump, you've been meeting with Secretary Hexeth and General Kane about potentially returning to an all-out war with Iran. Does this mean you've been unhappy with?
Absolutely. I'm happy in the stock market for damn sure. I'm actually, believe it or not, even though gold and silver is completely down right now, I'm completely glad that I'm involved in that market. It's actually, the gold and silver is actually kind of being more reactive, not to anything short term. It's reacting to longer term stuff where it's basically waiting to see if interest rates are going to go up or down in the somewhat near future here.
Iran's adherence to the MOU?
Well, I think they've come a long way. We hit them very hard last week. I think they're fine. I think we're going to. It's the denuclearization of Iran. It's very simple. And Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Otherwise, all of this stuff that we look at, all of these things that we do.
What's up, Brother Slim? Good morning to you, by the way. Yes, make sure you hit that like button. We always appreciate that. Double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. You guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world or here in the United States, but you guys can like it from me and what I'm doing here on Insane Wheels. So thank you for that.
The country's never had activity like it's got right now. So we're building more factories and car plants and other things.
Good times,
we went for
Warman.
years without ever building one car plant. Now we're building many car plants. We're building AI. We're building.
Well, right now, I'm going to be honest. If you're talking about gold and silver there, VC, I think you are. Now is the time to get involved because this is as cheap as it's going to be. It's at baseline right now. It's not going to go much further down than where it's at, to be honest. We're at a good baseline right now. So this is a good time to buy.
We're building all over the country. $19.1 trillion being invested.
But only if you're thinking long term. You can't think of gold and silver as like an investment, like a stock. You know what I mean? You have to think of it as a long term reserve of currency. Essentially, it's reserving what you have instead of it being like, oh, this is going to be a major money maker for me. This is what is best for long term storage of money.
It was like 2, and we've got 19.1, and it's going to continue. And with those buildings open, you're going to see something like the country's never seen before. That's why the stock market's going up every day. That's why your 401k, because everybody benefits. When the stock market goes up, everybody benefits. More jobs, more everything. And we're creating more jobs.
But he always conflates the economy as being the stock market, which I understand his mindset because he is a businessman and he's really only ever looked at it from that side. But that's not actually what the economy is. And I really do not like when he makes that false comparison, like as if, well, it's not even a comparison, but it's you know, he's saying it's one thing, but it's actually not, you know.
We have more people working today than have ever worked in the history of our country. It's great. And that's before these places open. They'll be opening up over the next year. And we have them coming in.
Yes, and thank you for that clarification too, Steve Easy. Do not ever buy futures of gold and silver or blah, blah, blah. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. You know, you got to make sure that you have, you know, it's an actual thing that you have in your hand, not in someone else's hand or futures or any of that shit. That's why I use the stock market to invest in business. I don't invest in futures and all that stuff with gold and silver. I actually get the commodity, right?
Taiwan, from Taiwan, we have more chip makers, and the biggest company in the world, actually, the chip maker. But they're coming in, they're building in Arizona, and they just announced they're going to double the size. We could have 50% of the chip market by the time I leave office. You know what we had now? Nothing. And then I got, as a gift, another gift, I said...
Yeah, because we rely on Taiwan for all that
to
shit.
Intel, give the United States of... They needed something. They needed some help, the chip maker. I said, give the United States of America, I'll do it for you, but give the United States of America 10% of your company. He said, you have a deal. He said it so fast, I said I should have asked for more. But he said, you have a deal. And that stake is now worth $80 billion. I made $80 billion for the country in 8 months. Does anybody talk about it? No. Have a good time. Have a good day. Enjoy the plane.
Real quick question. You've got D&I Pulte over there as the new director. We also know you have the task force set up on declassification, maybe talking about international, maybe looking at some declassification. Are you able to give us an update on that?
Declassify almost everything. And, you know, by the way, we have Jay Clayton who's going in. You know, Bill Pulte's a very talented guy, but he's just there temporarily until Jay Clayton. And Jay Clayton is going through the process. And Jay Clayton, highly respected, and so is Bill Pulte. But Bill is there just for a fairly short period of time. But while he's there, I said, you can declassify whatever you want.
Do you think we're going to get some soon, or maybe 2020?
I told him you could do it as fast. You got to ask him.
All right.
But I think he's a friend of yours. I think that Bill will declassify. I told him you can declassify whatever you want. So Bill's there just, you know, for maybe a month or 2 months or something. And Jay is going through the process. He's got a hearing in 2 weeks. Highly respected man, Jay Clayton. Okay? Thank you.
All right. When he does that, thank you. It means it's over. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday. And then, of course, Saturday morning for members only. I'm honored and blessed to always do this. And I can't thank you guys enough for becoming members, being engaged in the chat, hitting that like button, double tapping that screen if you're on the vertical side. listen, it all adds up. So thank you guys for being with us. We're going to be back tonight, actually, at 7:10-ish p.m. Central Standard Time. We have the Diamond Effect. We're going to be discussing basically Iran. We're going to be talking a lot about Iran this evening. So, and if we don't see you guys this evening, then of course we'll be back for more of the world's madness tomorrow morning. So until then, God bless everybody. We'll see you guys very soon. Much love, honor, respect. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul, with a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne amidst the chaos and